Come see us on tour in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there. So now I'm going to show you a compilation, or just some of my favorite clips of the news media lying to you. Now that the Wall Street Journal has written a front page article about how Joe Biden is demented and was since day one. Since day one, that's according to the Wall Street Journal. He was demented since day one. Guess what? He was demented before that. He was demented since 2019 when he was running for president, and we were telling people at the show he's demented, and other people were calling us crazy.
He had 3 aneurysm surgeries. Am I wrong about that?
At least 2.
3.
At least 2, maybe 3. I don't know. So here's that. What's his name? Julian Castro. Julian Castro. Do you remember this this is at the 2019 debate when they were all running for president, and Joe Biden was they were still hoping Kamala Harris, I think, could win it.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And
that little girl was me, Jimmy.
Yeah. So he calls him out for not being able to remember what he said 5 seconds ago. And the media pounced not on Joe Biden, but on him. Watch this.
10 million people uncovered. He wanted every single person in this country covered. My plan would do that. Your plan would not.
They do not have to buy in. They do not have to buy in.
You just said that. You just said that 2 minutes ago. You just said 2 minutes ago that they would have to buy in. You said they would have to buy in.
Have to buy in. If she qualifies for Medicaid,
are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?
Are you
forgetting already what you said just 2 minutes ago? I mean, I can't believe that you said 2 minutes ago that they had to buy in, and now you're saying they don't have to buy. You're forgetting that.
I said anyone like your grandmother who has no money.
We need a healthcare system.
You're automatically
enrolls people regardless of whether they choose to opt in or not. If you lose your job, for instance, his healthcare plan would not.
So that's Joe Biden getting. I think he was mostly upset because he was convinced he was debating Fidel Castro.
That's what I thought.
And not Julian Castro.
Wait, why did Bernie lean in to whisper? He's like, actually, you did say that about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, like Bernie's helping him out. Bernie, he's turned Bernie. What?
You said that.
So that was him being demented.
The crowd picked up on it too.
I think Joe Biden was just asking Bernie Sanders if he could get a Schwinn bicycle for Christmas. I think that's what was happening.
You shoot your eye out, kid.
So there's Joe Biden. How the White House. So this is the article. How the White House functioned with a diminished Biden in charge.
Does it just say badly in the article?
So this is right, and they show a contemplative Joe Biden trying to figure out how they even fit Marmaduke into that little car in the first place. So here now, Mays grabs this one. In early June, before Biden-Trump debate, the Wall Street Journal did a story on Biden's decline. Behind closed doors, Biden showed signs of slipping. Brian Stelter claimed that was fake news.
Reliable Brian? I call him Reliable Brian. Also, look at Joyanne Reed's. Joyanne Reed's wig has been receding like the coral reefs.
This is what. Here's Mr. Reliable Sources, Brian Stelter.
But Sinclair, they didn't do any original reporting. They didn't follow up. They didn't do any work. They didn't do any of their own work at all. They just ate it up, and then they regurgitated what the Wall Street Journal said. That's the worst form of so-called journalism out there. It's not really news at all. And that's my biggest complaint about this. Yeah. They said this could be an election decider, Joe Biden's age. Well, that's true if the media obsesses over it and ignores Trump's flaws. That will be true if the media puts its fists on the scale.
If the media puts their fists on the scale. But, Brian, this isn't a Coke deal.
Their fists?
If anyone's tipping the scale, it's your fat ass, okay?
Brian.
This isn't a Coke deal.
Okay, no. First of all, it's called putting your thumb on the scale, not your fist on. Are you making gay jokes about yourself?
So
here's fist on the scale.
So that's Mr. Reliable Sources saying that the report that behind Joe Biden he's slipping, and by the way, he knew it. That he knows it. She knew it. She knew it. They all knew it. They all
what
knew
helped
it
the
since
ratings?
2019. They all knew it because Julian Castro knew it, and he was the only one who had the balls to... Julian?
Yeah. He said Leon.
You know what helped their ratings? If you see that picture of them, if at the commercial break they all switch wigs, like they come back and they have the two wigs on, the two dudes.
But Sinclair.
Here's, in light of today's Wall Street Journal report exposing Biden as completely unable to do the job of president for the last 4 years, I once again raise you this June 17th, 2024 clip from Nicole Wallace.
Nicole Torture Wallace?
Who spoke about a Republican plot to create an insidious cheap fake. That's it. Here it is. Cheap fakes. Cheap fake. Here we go. Cheap fakes.
There's a growing and insidious trend in right-wing media, broadcast, print, and social media. It is to take highly misleading and selectively edited videos of President Biden directly from Republican National Committee social media accounts and then use those videos to spread messages virally to cast doubt on President Biden's fitness for office. Here is this headline from the New York Post, quote, Biden appears to freeze up, has to be led off stage by Obama at Megabucks LA fundraiser. The full video posted by Biden finance chair on Twitter shows something entirely different.
No, it didn't.
Biden reacting to applause and then walking off stage with former President Obama. It comes less than 1 week after the New York Post
They don't even show the whole thing.
She didn't even show it. No,
they showed a longer cut in the cheap fake.
Yeah, the cheap fake showed the more accurate version, which is when Joe Biden froze up and Barack Obama had to grab him by the arm and lead him off stage.
It was unedited, so that's actually maybe that's why it's cheaper, because there's not a lot of editing. Like theirs was an expensive fake.
The only difference between a cheap fake and a deep fake is that federal tax dollars aren't funding the cheap fake. That's it. I called Nicole Wallace a shallow fake.
It's amazing. Looking at it now after the election is extra humorous.
Cover out of another piece of deceptively edited tape, calling him meanderer-in-chief due to what they claim was Biden walking away during a skydiving demonstration during the G7 summit last week. The only problem is that the full video, which emerged almost instantly, shows Biden was going over to congratulate one of the skydivers who's cropped out of the video entirely. Both the articles are based on cheap fakes.
No, he got distracted like my dog when a squirrel goes by. Her, and they had to go grab him. No, we're over here, Mr. President. That was the Jimmy, Italian prime minister had to grab him by the arm and lead him back over.
Jimmy, you are doing a cheap fake about your dog. Your dog was merely turning to congratulate a squirrel.
Videos of real events that are intentionally manipulated to fool viewers, released on an RNC opposition research social media account with zero independent fact-checking by these so-called journalists and spread throughout the right-wing ecosystem. And we would take the hand-wringing by right-wing media about Biden's mental fitness in videos intentionally manipulated to make him look unfit, maybe a little more seriously if they weren't radio silent about the repeated, glaring, and real mental lapses happening behind podiums and on camera on the part of Donald Trump.
What?
Of course, she doesn't show one.
The way she said fact-checking sounded like fuck-checking.
So
I'm going to call it that.
So that is, so again, these again, the biggest liars in the world, the government and corporate media. Nobody's close. She's doing that with a straight face. You know why? Because her first job was to be a professional liar for George Bush and Dick Cheney and lie about their torturing and lie about the Iraq War. That's what and then of course they go, oh, MSNBC, let's hire her. She's a great liar for the establishment. That's what Rachel Maddow is. That's what Chris Hayes is. Fake tough guy Lawrence O'Donnell, Joyanne Reed, Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, Jake Tapper, Sean Hannity. They're all professional liars for the establishment.
I mean, it could be more obvious.
In March 12, 2024, Adam Schiff makes a public show of criticizing Robert Hur. That's the guy who was supposed to... He was in charge. He was the investigator who was hired to investigate if Joe Biden mishandled classified documents, which he did. And Robert Hur, after interviewing Joe Biden couldn't remember what he was supposed to say or even knew what he was talking about. And so after that interview, which, by the way, they prepped Joe Biden for a week straight, 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day. He couldn't remember what he was supposed to say. He couldn't even remember what they were talking about. So this guy, the Robert Hur, the investigator, concluded that Joe Biden is too demented and that a jury would never convict him. So here is Adam Schiff criticizing Robert Hur for including Biden's poor mental state in his report. He said, well, I don't think we should prosecute him because a jury would never convict. So they were upset that he told the truth. Again, 9 months later, the Wall Street Journal reports that the White House had to cancel national security meetings due to Biden's poor mental state. Let's watch.
In the rules, Mr. Hur, what is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to include that language. You could have said, vis-a-vis the documents that were found at the university, the president did not recall. There is nothing more common. You know this. I know this. There is nothing more common with a witness of any age when asked about events that are years old to say, I do not recall. Indeed, they're instructed by their attorney to do that if they have any question about it. You understood that. You made a choice. That was a political choice. It was the wrong choice. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlemen, yield.
What a scumbag. What he just said is so despicable. He goes, you knew that you should have lied. That's
what he's saying.
The only reason Biden got off was because his brain is goo.
That's right.
Why he. So it's not gratuitous. It's the literal reason that he's not being.
He's saying, why are you including an accurate assessment of what you found when you investigated and interviewed Mr. Biden? Here,
let me hear it again. Mr. Hur, what is in the rules is you don't gratuitously do things to prejudice the subject of an investigation when you're declining to prosecute. You don't gratuitously add language that you know will be useful in a political campaign. You were not born yesterday. You understood exactly what you were doing. It was a choice. You certainly didn't have to.
What is a choice here is him lying to the American public constantly about everything. Russiagate.
He's telling the truth here.
Russiagate, right? January 6th. Yeah. No, what he's doing is he's trying to pretend that the investigator was the one making it political. He's the one making it political.
No, I know that, but I'm saying to say the one reason Joe didn't get prosecuted for his mishandling because they're prosecuting Trump. The whole reason Joe got off is he's senile, and it's obvious to the guy interviewing him he can't prosecute. And this poor guy who looks young probably didn't know how the game is played. What I would have done if I was him is prosecuted him and let Joe testify.
Yeah, right.
And go, no, he's great.
Joe, here's, of course, we hear, you remember this, Joe Scarborough, right?
This is my favorite.
This is my favorite. He goes full state. This is like if you were watching Chinese TV or North Korean TV or old Soviet Union TV. They don't even do this stuff in Russia anymore.
F you.
But comparing that guy's mental state, I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people know this or not. Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is, and I don't really, you know what? I don't really care. Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
Start your tape because for the first time all morning, I'm going to tell the truth. Why do you have to signal you're going to tell the truth? By the way, the reason he says that, because that's what liars do when they're about to tell the biggest lie they've ever told. And here it comes. It's like when someone says, hey, I'm a straight shooter. You know that guy's a liar.
Wait, Jimmy, hold on. I got to get my tape started.
Yeah, get your tape started.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth,
God.
I wouldn't say it.
Okay, Jimmy, can I just say something? I think Joe is right, and for two reasons. This Biden is not only less racist, but he probably doesn't shower with his kids anymore.
That's right. You could just see his CIA handler that morning prepping Joe Scarborough for his show. Okay, Joe,
His
now you
blackmailer?
got to come at this very aggressively because
Yeah.
studies show that America loves being scolded by someone who sells soap on TV. Don't worry. This is going to work out great. Don't worry about it. Start your tape right now because I'm about to tell you the truth. Okay, first of all, who's still using tape? What's the deal, Joe? Do you still stop your car with your feet like Fred Flintstone too? You're using tape? Start your tape? And of course, if you don't agree with Morning Joe, F you, America. That's right. F you. America is in an abusive relationship with MSNBC, just so you know. And there's all the proof anybody ever needed, Kurt. He's referring to him as a version of Biden. making us believe that there's a giant warehouse full of Bidens.
Yeah.
Like a scene from Westworld.
Biden 4.0, dude.
If it's not the truth, you wouldn't say it. That's what he said. If it's not the truth, I wouldn't say it. That's exactly what a liar says. Why would that even come up?
Yeah, why?
Who thinks of in terms of, oh, I better only say the truth? That's supposed to be a given, but not to liars like Joe Scarborough on Morning Joe. So this is just some of my favorite. Now we have Chris Cilizza, professional liar for the corporate media. Now, after Wall Street Journal wrote this article saying that Joe Biden, who everybody knew he was demented from day one, now he comes out and gives a mea culpa, Chris Cilizza. He's going to apologize. You think I'm kidding? Watch.
As a reporter, I have a confession to make. I should have pushed harder earlier for more information about Joe Biden's mental and physical well-being.
I should have pushed harder. You mean you should have pushed at all? I should have pushed. I just didn't do a good enough job.
Never.
I'm always doing great. So let's listen to it again.
As a reporter, I have a confession to make. I should have pushed harder earlier for more information about Joe Biden's mental and physical well-being and any signs of decline. So let me explain.
Any signs of decline.
Joe Biden was president from 2020 to 2024. I worked at CNN through 2022. During that time, the early part when I was at CNN, 2020 to 2022, Republicans would regularly ping me and say, why don't you ask more questions to Joe Biden and how he's doing? He's 76, 77, 78-year-old man. And I would sort of brush them off because what I would say is, there's no obvious evidence that he's declining. Yeah, he moves a little slower, he talks a little slower, but there's no evidence that he's declining. And
there's no actual evidence that he's declining, unless you watch several videos of Joe Biden for yourself. There's no actual evidence. Here we go.
The White House and the people around Joe Biden were absolutely adamant that suggesting anything, asking the question about whether he was in some physical, mental, or both decline was offensive. How could you? It's age shaming. And I think that impacted me at some level because while I did ask the question from time to time of, not directly the White House, but aides and people around in that orbit, I didn't really push on it, if I'm being honest. Now, once I left CNN and once it became a little bit more clear to me about Biden's age, I think I did write pretty regularly and talk pretty regularly about how I wasn't sure that this guy was up to it. And then obviously after the June 27th debate, everybody...
You mean after I lost my job at CNN and it was safe? And it wasn't... Yeah. And I started to kind of around the edges talk a little bit more about this. So he's apologizing.
Back now, Jimmy.
So he's apologizing for not looking into something that he was so convinced about. He should have looked into it more. That's what he's saying.
Jimmy, look at his apartment. You think in New York that's cheap?
No, of course not.
He doesn't pay rent.
Including me, was writing and talking about it. The reason that I bring this up is in the last 48 hours, there have been two stories, one by the New York Times and one by the Wall Street Journal, that document the decline of Joe Biden and how we probably should have known then and reported then what we know now. So that's what's got me thinking about the fact that I probably should have pushed harder on the Biden age stuff. Because in retrospect, it's clear that the people close to him knew that at best, he had some good days and some bad days. June 27th, the debate clearly was a bad day. But if the bad day was that bad as he performed on that debate stage, the fact that he had been president without a whole lot of questions being asked about his physical and mental decline. And I'll add the fact that he continued to be president from June 27th until January 20th, 2025, I think is a little bit concerning and begs the question of, like, when did people near him know? What did they know? And why did they not share? I get protecting Biden's privacy, but he's the president of the United States, right? Like, this isn't just your grandpa who you want to, like, take the keys from, but you're not to his car, but you're not totally sure how to approach it. This is the sitting president of the United States who will continue to be after June 27th.
Yeah. Why all the more serious your lack of investigation? Because this was the sitting president of the United States. And it was obvious to anybody who watched Joe Biden for 5 seconds on video. The guy didn't know how to get on or off a stage. That's what led to my joke. Why don't they buy him a dog to lead him off stage? They can't buy him a dog?
Yeah.
And so this guy's like, yeah, this is really serious. Yeah, I know. That's why you guys suck so extra hard. That's why Chris Cilizza is a liar for money. That's why he has a nice apartment in Manhattan. That's why he
number one first.
And he's pretending now that, yeah, this is really important. You know what? Those guys were lying to me. That's the old Chris Cuomo defense about, the government was telling me ivermectin was horse paste. That I was lied to. Yeah, I know. You're supposed to assume they're lying, you liar.
Well,
Chris Cuomo knew they were lying. Just like this guy knew that Joe Biden was demented. But when he worked at CNN, just like Chris Cuomo when he worked at CNN, their money was paid for by the establishment, and they weren't allowed to tell the truth. And they were okay with that. He's 100% okay with not telling the truth. 100%.
I think he's worse. I think Lizzo's worse than Cuomo because Fredo, is from a political family of Democrats. It's like the level of pressure on him, and he's more of a blank, I feel. This guy's supposed to be an actual journalist. We know Chris Cuomo's not a journalist. He's a talking head. But isn't this guy, his pedigree that he's a real journalist?
He's supposed to be a real reporter.
I think Chris Cuomo doesn't remember anything he said on CNN because he read it off a prompter, just like the movie Anchorman. He's brick. I really do think that about him. Because his producer... Like, this guy, presumably, and probably not, but presumably this guy comes up with his own stuff, his own material. Chris Cuomo, it's being written for him by a producer.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Is the president for another 6 months. And we don't know how far back signs of this physical and mental decline went.
We do.
Yes,
we do. Again, he's still lying. We don't know how far. Yes, we do. At least 2019 when he was running for president. At least then.
It's amazing what higher education and bona fides are. It's like, I'm allowed to say the truth I can see with my eyes because I have enough schooling. You, who can see this way ahead of me, like that old fable, the emperor has no clothes, because this is not a new thing. You are supposed to, are you an expert? Like, you're not supposed to look at the thing.
Don't put it just on myself or just on journalists, because I know journalists did ask, and I can tell you, I mean, I know from my experience, there was a shame factor that went into that. People around Biden worked to make you feel bad when you asked whether he was up to the job of being president, running for president again, and serving as president for another.
So I'm going to ask really important questions as long as someone doesn't make me feel bad about them. I'm going to ask really important. These guys are supposed to be reporting and asking questions of the most powerful people in the world. That's your job. Your job is to find out when they're lying and expose them. But there's they would make me feel bad. Talk about a beta male, the exact opposite of what you... But of course, this is the guy who gets elevated to the top of journalism in America because that's the kind of people that the establishment and the billionaires want. They want a cuck and a beta male like that who's going to be easily shamed from asking a real question. And even if he knows the truth, which he did, he'll never tell it because they're going to make him feel bad. Meaning they're going to ostracize you from the group.
Yeah.
Like all my friends did over Russiagate, Ukraine, and COVID.
They weren't.
And I still did it. I still told the truth. Because what is the fucking point? I want to stay friends with a bunch of assholes who don't have enough dignity, integrity, and courage to tell the truth about the biggest story of their life, COVID. I give a fuck about staying friends with those people or being shamed or ostracized. Shame on those people. I can hold my head up high and look myself in the mirror. This guy Never had any integrity. That's how he got to be where he is. That's how people like Joe Scarborough get there, and Rachel Maddow, and Chris Hayes, and Lawrence O'Donnell, and Anderson Cooper, because they don't have any integrity. That's how you get there.
Jimmy, are you as a young guy, are you impressed though, at least, that in his quest to not be shamed, he has become absolutely shameless?
Yeah, haha. I think there's more to this.
4 years. How could you? And they did a very good job, at least until they couldn't hide it anymore, of hiding it, of making it so that it was very hard to know. Yes, but he didn't do a lot of press conferences. Yes, he didn't do a lot of media interviews. But, when he did things, the thing I always remember is he gave the State of the Union speech earlier this year, and he was fine.
Again, he's still a lying
the one
asshole.
with the red background.
It was really hard to tell. It was super easy to tell.
Me and Kyle made a Fresh Press episode just based on his insane State of the Union with the bright red background.
No, that wasn't a State of the Union. That was just some speech he gave trying to demonize MAGA and split the country. That was the red, yeah.
Oh, the State of the Union.
The State of the Union when he was screaming,
got killed.
Yeah, when he was screaming at the top of his lungs the whole time, like a madman, like someone who's demented, and
or a deaf person.
Yeah, or a deaf person.
There were no obvious signs of decline. I mean, yes, he looked like a 70, an 80-year-old guy, but I wasn't like, this man cannot, under no circumstances, be president. So
obviously, he also doesn't know anybody who's old, because there are some people that are 80 and look youthful and are able to function.
That's right.
And then this is so disturbing that I'm seeing journalist after journalist come out and they're like, well, I should have asked the harder question. You're right, Jimmy. It's like, yeah, you didn't ask the hard question, and they're still not asking the hard question.
No.
Like, who's running the country?
Like, who's running the country now?
Wait, my grandfather at 96 years old, I held conversations with him, and he did nothing like Biden. Stop saying age. That's the big That's how they do the little lie to put that in.
My dad was 91, 2 years old. We had fine conversation at my nephew's wedding. No problem.
Hiding it for a long time.
It's nonsense.
But journalists, and I put myself here, you've got to, we should have been pushier. I don't want to speak for everyone, I should have not let the shame campaign to make you feel bad for asking the question get to me. Because it's now clear from both the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times piece that there was real deterioration even before, and by the way, all the reporting that we've seen since the June 27th debate, it's not just these two stories, that there was real and significant decline in Joe Biden, and that it was being managed by the people around him. They were insulating him. They were keeping the political world out.
You did it. You were part of it.
And that should have been something we knew more about.
You know what? I'm going to say this, and you might think it doesn't apply, but I don't trust anyone with bisexual glasses frames. And by that, I mean his are blue. That's all I mean. And there's something about that is so dishonest. I don't know how else to put it.
Let me think about it. Do I have a pair of blue glasses?
Yes, I like blue glasses.
I don't think I have a pair.
No, you don't. But I've been wanting.
But I used to have. I think
I wanted a light blue one.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So here's Mahamaga lady. Listen to what she says about Chris Cilizza.
This man didn't just not ask questions about Joe Biden because the Biden White House told him it would be ageist to do so. No, this guy was in on it.
That's right.
All of these guys were in on it.
Yes.
Here is what Chris...
Because they looked at it as fighting Trump and fighting Hitler. That's why they were all in on it. That's why they all lied.
Why does this young chick know?
That's right.
How old is she? 20? She sees it?
She knows it.
Cillizza wrote for CNN at the time. Republicans keep trying to make Biden's mental capacity an issue. That's the headline. And the piece reads, this is the sort of gross, lowest common denominator politics that drive people away from public life. If Republicans have some sort of proof that Biden is declining, they should bring it forward.
So Chris Cilizza didn't give in to them shaming him. He was the one doing it to other people.
Yes.
Just like Chris Cuomo. Chris Cuomo wasn't the one being lied to about ivermectin. He was the one lying to you about ivermectin and shaming other people for telling the truth. That's what corporate news is. And that's what my old friends in Hollywood think we still need to censor people like me, but not people like CNN and MSNBC and the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Yeah.
They're all in on it. They're all constantly lying. Chomsky proved this with manufacturing consent over 25 years ago.
Well, you know what, Jimmy? They're not all in. What they're doing is, it's like you're checking out and giving into a hypnotic suggestion because they say the same phrases over and over again, right? Democracy's on the ballot, that kind of thing. Very similar to Rwanda with cut the tall trees on the radio. So they don't want to have to think about it. What they want is for it to be handled like an app. So that's how they're all in. They're all in on not being conscious of anything going on and going with the herd. And you're an asshole.
That's right.
For not, do you care about your career?
So I always thought, so that's the weirdest thing that I've experienced in Hollywood is that I came to Hollywood not as an actor, but as a stand-up comedian. And I always wanted to be George Carlin. That was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be George Carlin.
You wanted tax problems?
And yeah. And so that's why I always liked being part of the comedy community, because we didn't go along with the herd. We were the ones.
I thought that too.
We were the ones who got to stand up and say the emperor has no clothes, and we got to poke holes in the status quo, and we got to push back on things but then that all went away when Donald Trump became president. That all went away.
Even before.
You weren't allowed to tell the truth. People got mad at me for telling the truth about Barack Obama being a complete piece of it and a warmonger.
Occupy.
People got
Occupy.
You got
where it started.
Yeah, that's right. So you weren't allowed to tell the truth. I'm talking about comedians.
Yeah, I'm exempt from your stupid HR rules from your job.
Yes.
That's why I took this job, so I don't have to observe the nonsense you do in a corporate environment.
But that all changed. Even just me, when I supported Tulsi Gabbard, that was it. I became I was all ready, because I wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton, and I told people not to, and I told people, make Hillary Clinton come get your vote. She's not doing that. Hillary could come get my vote. She won't. Just like Joe Biden wouldn't come get my vote.
Beta. You're supposed to be beta.
Just like Kamala Harris, come get my vote. They won't come get my vote. They won't offer me anything to vote for.
You have to woo them.
Yes. So comedy and comedian, they all flipped it. So now that's what I loved about, and I'm still a comedian, and I'm still upholding the traditions of comedy where you get to tell the truth and go against the herd. But that's what journalism is. It's all herd thinking. It's cult-like thinking. My old comedy friends, they still say ivermectin is horse paste. They still have cult thinking. They still say, I thank God for the vaccine. I thank God for, and I can't believe you would criticize Fauci. I've had people in comedy say that to me.
I wish you'd say their names so we could trash them.
I've had people say that to me in comedy.
I know.
I can't believe that you would
trash them publicly.
And what are you, a Trumper? No, I'm a comedian. You're supposed to make fun of the powerful.
Well, that's, Jimmy, that's why I always, when I'm talking with anybody, I go, just so you know, I don't believe in America. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's so shocking to them, but I don't want to hear that I like Trump, because I don't believe in this shit.
Right.
So I want to establish what I'm saying. I'm not a campaigner. Like, I'm allowed to point out facts, like how Adam Schiff is yelling at the guy for doing his job.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to campaign for you. I'm supposed to do a thing separate from you. But they want you to campaign. I'm with her.
That's right.
Dude, I'm with her.
So here, there's more. So this is Chris Cilizza. So all these guys are liars. So Chris Cuomo, Chris Cilizza, Chris Hayes, all the Chris's, they're all liars. The Rachel Maddows, the Anderson Coopers, they're all liars because they were all in on it.
BDSM
they were all in on it. Just like all my comedian friends. They were all in on the lie. Oh, the economy's doing great. How do you know? Restaurants are full. They would say this on stage.
Well, they're dumb.
Yeah, no, they're not dumb. They're in a cult. Here we go.
If they don't, they should stop doing what they're doing immediately.
Huh.
So let me play that again. This is Chris Cilizza.
This man didn't just not ask questions about Joe Biden because the Biden White House told him it would be ageist to do so. No, this guy was in on it. All these guys were in on it. Here is what Chris Cilizza wrote for CNN at the time. Republicans keep trying to make Biden's mental capacity an issue. That's the headline. And the piece reads, this is the sort of gross, lowest common denominator politics that drive people away from public life. If Republicans have some sort of proof that Biden is declining, they should bring it forward. If they don't, they should stop doing what they're doing immediately.
That's Chris Cilizza. He was doing the thing he claimed someone was doing to him. They were shaming me. They were bullying me. They were making me feel bad for asking questions. No, you were the one doing that. And now here he is lying about it. Lying. And that's what a corporate journalist is, a professional paid liar. Come see us on tour in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Dallas, Texas, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only there.